Hello, my friends. White Witch 110 here. I have spent the majority of the early afternoon reorganizing once again my craft area. I had taken everything that I thought I might need from underneath because we kitten proofed up on top. It was a huge pile, but what I did is I found some containers that I had and some I didn't know I had, and I put stuff for Christmas crafting away. Stuff that I had completed is now away, and it's up on the other side opposite my craft bench here. That also is going to stop the kittens from getting up there as they had been. And I've also kitten proofed my crafting bench a bit more in regards to the top part of it, so they shouldn't be able to get up on top of here now. So I'm happy about that. Now this afternoon, I've got a story to read for you. And the story is called Never Should Have. 1 a.m. on a cold, rainy morning. Len and I are out following directions on his phone to a place we don't know. We find ourselves in a parking lot by a wooded area. As with other people, we are instructed to walk from this point. We follow along as a well-used path. Wind rustled in the leaves above us. Len believes he hears voices. I explain it as just the sound of the wind. We walk in for 15 minutes before the map takes us off the main trail. My sole concentration is not falling. Our flashlights assist us on our way. Roots and rocks litter the ground. It isn't long until we smell burning wood. Alarmed, we begin searching for the source. For 5 minutes, we weave through the trees to no avail. Len consults his phone. We have gone off, way off our course. He turns to retrace our steps. Coming upon the exact location according to the map, we had no idea what we were supposed to find. Len's beam of light catches the shine of an object by a tree. It was a keychain. Rolling it over in his hand, Len sees it is a cottage, an imprint in pewter. What did it mean, if anything at all? Was it dropped by someone or planted for us to find? I inquired as to what we were to do next. Len said we should go back to the car. He was taking the keychain with us. Walking back, I felt we were being watched. I was not comfortable at all. We began to hear noises behind us, and once again Len heard voices among the leaves. This had been a huge mistake. We should have been out during the day. This was insane at night. We quickened our pace when we reached the main pathway again. The closer we came to the parking lot, the further away it seemed. It was nearly at a run when we broke through the trees. The rain was now a mist. Back inside the car, I felt relief. Len made sure to lock the doors and make sure the windows were up. I expressed concern for someone running up to us. The longer we sat, the more anxious I became. My anxiety was through the roof. I strongly encouraged Len to leave. He placed his key in the ignition, then stopped before turning it over. From his side mirror, he took note of a vehicle he hadn't noticed when we arrived. It was most important that we leave now. Len grabbed hold of his key and turned it, advising me to be ready to dial for the police if need be. I was ready as we slowly rolled back. The only sound was of the loose gravel beneath the tires. Shifting into drive, the car lights came on. The other car's engine came to life. It was imperative we leave. My concern became this person following us home. Under no circumstance were we leading them there. If need be, we would find a hotel. This is not what we had anticipated, even though others had reported this same occurrence. The dark mid-sized car continued to trail us on the highway to our exit. The decision was made to proceed to a hotel nearby. Parking close to the entrance, we hopped out of the car and approached the front desk. Lynn had observed the vehicle enter the parking lot as it drove straight through. It was a slight relief for both of us once we were up in the room. I then declared I would never do this again. Lynn embraced me as we fell asleep. I hadn't been this terrified since I was a child. The morning continued to be misty as we finally made our way home. We were exhausted and satisfied no one followed us. Len carried the keychain with him, attempting to decipher what it meant, if it was to mean anything at all. I relayed our experience to a few friends. They either thought we were crazy or very brave. I would say 50-50 would explain our state of mind. I admit, for this first few days afterwards, I watched for that vehicle. It never did surface. Len hadn't noticed it either. We truly were able to relax. The fright of that evening forgotten, Len was ready to try again. The emotion of that early morning was etched into my memory. I was extremely apprehensive about repeating the experience. Our friend James requested to tag along. I was quick to agree he should. Strength in numbers. We started out early. It was about 8 p.m. when the direction to the location came up on the phone. Apparently, it was 20 minutes from the gas station we were parked at. James was leaving his vehicle there to join us. This time, we were directed to an abandoned warehouse. Right off, I am on alert. This is not feeling right at all. I voiced my concern to Len. It was a small building used for novelty items sold at the flea market. The owner of the building moved away in the early 2000s. He left everything in the warehouse. I truly doubted anything would actually be left. What was the intention? I wanted to know. For fun, they had thought childhood toys. This was such a relief. James found a way in through the back. I just wanted to leave. It was musty and the air was stale. Our flashlights illuminated crates piled on top of each other. We made our way through the maze. My thought was for someone hiding. Roughly half the crates had been smashed. A portion of the contents had been thrown around the space. We were positive a number of goods had been taken. From above us, we heard a faint laugh. Len stopped in his tracks. He raised his light to the ceiling. There was no floor above, but there was a speaker. I grabbed Len's arm, yanking his sleeve. Once again, I implored him to leave. Someone was close by, watching. James wondered where, and he wanted to search. I said no. As much as Len was good with the idea, he said no as well. We heard something fall in front of us. My feet were moving in the opposite direction. Whether the guys were with me or not, I was going. I ran out the way we had come in. I stood in the dark corner of the yard, I felt as though everything was closing in on me. I was steps away from the car, but too scared to move an inch. Moments later, the guys emerged from the warehouse. Together, we walked to the car. Len was ready to try another location. I didn't want to. I was ready to go home. I didn't want any part of this game. This game could become dangerous quickly. I wanted to know who was behind the voice inside. Someone sinister must be behind all of this. How much money were they making? My temper was growing. Len was obsessed now. He went into the app for a third time and chose the intention. James and I had no idea what he wanted to find. Within seconds, we had a location. Len made our way out of the parking lot. Our drive this time was longer. It was close to midnight when he made the turn, declaring we had arrived. James and I glanced at each other. We were in a cemetery parking lot. There was no way I was leaving the car. I looked at Len like he had lost his mind. I refused once again. At this point, he and James left me locked in the car. Len and James followed to the point. Beside a bush near a grave was a Barbie painted white. There was a folded paper. I sat in the car, my nerves ramped up. Every shadow seemed to move closer to the car. I reminded myself the doors were locked. The moment I relaxed, I heard a pebble hit the back door. I whipped round. I could see nothing to explain it. Another pebble was thrown. A minute later, I sensed a pull on the door handle. I wanted to turn, but was afraid to. Then I felt the pull on the driver's door, but there was nothing there. Again, I debated whether to phone Len. James opened the note. It read, "She's gone." The men looked at each other, then took off running. There was a slam against the hood that startled me. I screamed, then caught myself. Len and James yelled as they reached the parking lot. I sat confused and scared. My entire body was shaking when Len opened the door. It took me a moment to realize who he was. At that second, I began to cry hysterically. I wanted out of this nightmare. James crawled into the back seat. He showed me what they had found. I shouted at them to leave the items behind. I did not want them in our car or in our home. Len pleaded with me to calm down. At that moment, we heard a vehicle enter the parking lot. I demanded we leave. Len agreed and started the engine. James still had the doll and note with him. We didn't want him to leave the car. He opened up the window enough to drop them in the trash can nearby. No one left the other vehicle. We pulled out onto the road, expecting it to follow us, but it didn't. I took a deep sigh. This had gone past the line. I expressed my concern to both of them for the safety of all of us. It wasn't a game, I repeated. Len needed to uninstall the app. James had brought an overnight bag. We didn't bother to go home, just in case we would be followed. We did, however, take James to his vehicle, and we left together. We made our way to a different hotel, splitting the cost of a room. James drew the curtains closed once in the room before turning the lamp on by the bed. Len made sure to double lock the hotel room door. The guys searched the room and were content all was good. Our room was on the 5th floor. We quietly discussed the evening's event. We had agreed no more of this foolishness. It had become way too dangerous. I wondered why the app hadn't been pulled. Moreover, I wanted to know who was behind it all. How were they doing this around the world? Who was the mastermind behind it? I recalled in the beginning, I was of the opinion the people themselves were setting it up. But now I couldn't say that. All this had happened to us, and we had nothing to do with it. We hadn't even set our intentions out loud. How was this working? It was around 2 a.m. when we turned out the lights and fell asleep. We had only been asleep 20 minutes when Len shot up in bed. James was also awake. They had heard someone at the door. Len looked through the peephole and see no one. They agreed not to search. Could have been a drunk guest at the wrong door. James double-checked the balcony sliding door. All was secure. Eventually, we fell back asleep. Later that morning, we were back at our place with James. The guys wanted one more adventure. I decided to stay home, but Len wouldn't hear of it. He didn't want me alone. I dreaded having to endure another location. James made a call to his girlfriend, Sally. She agreed to come visit and would bring an overnight bag. I wasn't sure she had been informed as to what had been going on. I brought her up to speed. Sally was in shock with what she heard. She took James aside. He admitted to her the app adventure had gone further than he expected. My idea backfired. She wanted to experience this. Sally wanted to see for herself what might happen. Reluctantly, once again, I agreed to go. Len made the first intention after lunch. During the day, how could it be scary? That is the end of the first part of the story. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you to my YouTube family for coming by. I hope that you enjoyed the story. Your support through your comments means quite a bit to me. I love each of you. You are a wonderful bunch of people, and I feel very fortunate to have gotten to know all of you. Anyone just dropping in to see what the story is about, thank you for coming by. Please feel free to check out my other videos. There may be something else there that interests you. I also have a lot of other stories that I've read that you may be interested in hearing. While you're here, think about subscribing. If you do subscribe, think about taking that extra step and clicking the notification bell. You find something that interests you, please give it a thumbs up, drop me a comment, and share it out with family, friends, neighbors, co-workers, anyone you feel may be interested. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and have a magnificent Monday. And until the next time, ciao for now.